No new infections in Muskoka as officials continue to believe we're hitting a peak. Could the COVID-19 vaccine be developed close to home? And giving a helping hand to those who need it most during this pandemic. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for April 21st. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. Well, some good news today as Muskoka has gone a few days in a row without confirming any new viral infections in the community. On Monday, one infection in Huntsville was reported. However, the man infected had already recovered. There are currently only 2 people actively infected out of the 16 confirmed cases reported in Muskoka by the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit. And joining me now from his home office in Bracebridge is Mayor Graydon Smith. Graydon, thank you very much once again for taking the time.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So, Graydon, as you know, as we know, things continue to change here, and just wanted to talk to you about some of the changes that have come through. First of all, I wanted to talk to you about the news that we may be sort of hitting a peak in Ontario. That's been the message that's been coming across from health officials. However, it's coming with a grain of salt, and so I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, and maybe some of the messaging that you would like to give as well.
Well, I think the message from me is this is no time to relax. We've seen statistics that are suggesting that we're near or at a peak, as you said, in Ontario. But that doesn't mean, we're going to fire the doors open and everybody run outside. There's still a long way to go with this. I think if you listen to the public health officials and the messages that they're giving, this is still a very serious issue. There can be kind of a second wave, if you will, come through, or even a third wave in some cases. So if we're going to do this, we need to do it right the first time to try and stamp it out or not let it go from person to person, maybe a better analogy. And that means that we've got to carry on with what we've been doing as much as it might be painful.
Graydon, I want to say that it seems there's been sort of a softer tone being taken towards cottagers now from a few officials, just sort of saying, we know you're coming up now, just try to be safe at this point. Are you moving in towards that trend of changing your messaging as well, knowing that there's really no stopping them at this point?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a difficult situation. Look, the public health advice is still the same, that no unnecessary travel, and please don't go to your cottage. And not really changing off that message, but there is a certain realization that people are here regardless of what the message is. And if they are here, like everyone should be doing, I want people to be treated with respect and nobody to feel like they are, somehow threatened or less than or anything else. We're all lovers of Muskoka, and I don't think that's a different message from me, but it's really just underlining a point that regardless of who it is you're dealing with or talking to, we are all in this together, and we've just got to be our best selves.
So recently, actually today, you were part of a roundtable discussion which has been kind of moving around Muskoka, courtesy of Scott Aitchison and Norm Miller, to talk about business in the area and what these local businesses, first of all, can be doing to survive at this point, and some of the creativity that they've come up with to help with that, and maybe also talking about what we're looking like in the next few months. So can you tell me just a brief synopsis of what that discussion was about and some of the things you pulled from it?
Well, it was certainly time well spent today. There were a lot of questions for all 3 levels of government, probably more for federal and provincial, since they're the ones that are rolling out big dollar programs right now, and ones that can have a very meaningful impact on either people or, in this case, business. I think that it really underlined the fact that there's so much uncertainty out there, and if you're a business owner, you really count on a level of certainty to know how to plan and where you're going with your business. And it's causing a lot of stress for a lot of people. But I still think there's optimism there that with some of the programs that are out there that can help some of these businesses weather that. There were questions around what municipalities can do, and although we're not financially structured the same way, we're going to look into that from a district level through the finance committee that I chair to see if there's an opportunity to do something there. And I think with all three levels of government working together, communicating and talking, we'll be able to make a positive difference for business owners. That said, this is really the first time we've had a chance to talk, and I think there's more conversations that will need to happen in the future.
I just want to go back to talking about sort of the tourism aspect and some of the recreational aspects of the communities. Now, I know some communities have decided to close down boat launches and docks, public ones. Some are deciding not to. And I'm asking you to kind of put more in your district hat here and tell me from the perspective of that, do you think that this should be a district-wide situation, or should the towns be able to decide whether or not their boat launches and docks are open, considering the fact that, people could be using these to go fishing and they are a very sort of public atmosphere?
All the boat launches are municipal property, so there is the opportunity to make individual decisions as municipalities, but I think we're better served if we all work together and send out a consistent message that boat launches are either open or closed in all of Muskoka, Georgian Bay being the exception because they're in a little different position with the number of properties they have literally out on the islands in the bay. But at this point, there's been some concern. I know people are either seeing people, going fishing. Maybe there's a contractor using it. In some cases, they see people that they believe are going to a cottage, and because they're not in favor of that, they want to, frustrate it through boat launches. But at the end of the day, I think the use is relatively minimal at this point. We've made it clear to authorities such as our own bylaw people that it can they need to pardon me, they need to look around those boat launches a little bit more and see what's going on and see if there's any problematic activity. And so right now it's something that we look at relatively frequently, but no action being taken.
All right. Graydon, thank you very much for taking the time again. Really do appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. A team of doctors from the University of Waterloo are part of the national effort to create a vaccine for the coronavirus. Dr. Roderick Slavic joined our Greg Estabrooks in our North Bay Your TV studio early Friday evening to discuss the pharmaceutical push.
Development, and a lot of my background is in genetics and microbiology, so it's a little bit of an area that's familiar to me. And you know what's out there, and we have a good sense of what the available scenarios are, and we just lend to what are the internal capabilities of what we believe that we can do best, and how we can design something that draws on a lot of the literature and what's been done and figures out how can we novelly do something that we believe is better, more durable, and more universal across the board as well.
You're not the only group trying to develop a vaccine, as you're well aware. Are you in any contact with any other scientists in other cities or other countries who are embarking on this?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of contact, and a lot of this happens just by virtue of literature and a lot of sort of, pieces that go out, learning from others. Anytime, this is what's really cool and what I'm really thrilled about seeing in Canada. It's not a matter of a race of who gets to it first. It's a matter of getting this done and finding a solution as fast as possible, and seeing all the other investigators across the country rising up and taking action against this. That's the way it should be, and it's a cool thing to see. It's the way it's a great thing to see. So yes, this is a collaborative effort nationally, is the way I see it.
There has been some progress. You're getting some good early results. How are you getting those results, the positive ones?
Well, this is all based on a platform that we had derived. I have two different companies that have spun out of my lab based on some of our previous research. We're DNA specialists. So Metaphage Bioceuticals is one of those companies that has a new approach and a new vector that can be a very safe and effective way of being able to deliver DNA. So we drew on what those capabilities were, as well as a new delivery vector that is highly novel using a bacteriophage through another company, Theraphage. And putting those together, it just made a significant platform that we believe can just draw on all the necessary immunological pieces to do something not only different, but more effective than what has been done previously.
Dr. Slavtip, there's also been a lot of, concern, worry about timeframes, development timeframes. Some people say it takes years to develop a vaccine. Some say it could take as little as a year. Can you put a clock on it, or is that too difficult?
It is difficult. I mean, everything's really based on the necessary testing. To alleviate some of those fears, I think the best way to look at it is that a lot of the regulatory hurdles that are in place, although expedited at present to be able to get something into the hands of people who need it, they're necessary. And having these safety measures in place is a very important part to make sure that no matter what is developed and by whom, that it is appropriately tested in all the various and right areas to ensure that it is a safe vaccine for any further usage. So that does add time, of course, but it is important.
Well, we are back to the break, but when we come back, we'll have details on a service that you could be lending a hand to. Shut down in other services, Hospice Huntsville is one of those essentials that needs to keep running, but relies heavily on community funding. With the loss of their Purple Boot campaign, the hospice is now trying new ways to gather needed funds to help keep the services going. I chatted last week with Melissa Polischuk about that outside-the-box fundraising.
So with the current situation with COVID-19, Hospice Huntsville's had to postpone all of our spring fundraising events. So That's our Purple Tea Party, our Hike for Hospice, and also our Purple Boot campaign. And that was all to take place in March, April, and the hike into May. So right now, what we're actually advocating for is the funds that we need in order to have Hospice Huntsville's all our programs and services continue to be free of charge to everyone. Currently we have, with the hike being postponed and the sub-events that we have for the hike, it's close to $80,000 that we are able to raise for those events, and that's what we are in critical need of funds right now for Hospice Huntsville.
So you did, I think, in our correspondence, you did mention that there is sort of an online campaign for the Purple Boot component right now. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So we had to do it for our media launch for our Purple Boot campaign, which was actually kicking off in mid-March. And continuing all throughout April until Hike Day, which would have been May 3rd. And so the Purple Boots, we've got 40 of these bright colored, fabulous boots that are usually out in the community all throughout Huntsville, Lake of Bays, and Almeguin Highlands at different businesses and organizations. And we, of course, aren't able to have the boots out during this time. So we started a virtual Purple Boot campaign, and people are able to actually give online to the Purple Boot campaign. We've set up a campaign page on Canada Helps, and it's a pretty easy fundraiser. If you're into giving online, they will issue an immediate tax receipt. So it's a way of we usually have such great awareness with the Purple Boots, and it's also a great fundraiser, but this time it's a little more challenging, so we're hoping that we'll have a virtual Purple Boot campaign that's successful this year.
And one thing I did want to ask you, and hopefully you can kind of answer this question, but I know precautions are in place at different medical facilities. What types of precautions are being taken at the hospice right now to make sure that, obviously there's no spread there?
So right now, our executive director and our clinical lead manager for nursing have been working closely, obviously, with all the government officials. One thing and it's constantly changing, of course, but we are allowed one essential visitor for our residents here at Hospice Huntsville. So that's with the family members would decide on one essential visitor that they have right now. And of course our clinical staff are incredible and of course taking all the different precautions that everybody else is in the healthcare field that we have right now.
All right, Melissa. Sorry, go ahead. No.
And I was just going to mention too that with Algonquin Grace, besides Algonquin Grace, we've got two of our grief support programs or counseling still available, and we are able to have our grief facilitators that are volunteers are actually chatting and counseling our different supporters that need support through telephone conversations. So that's still, of course, up and running. And if anybody is, of course, in need of grief support at this time, they can contact us at Hospice Huntsville.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say, Melissa?
It's just that it's very different having, not having our usual spring events that we're so used to having and being able to get everyone together, all our family members and our donors and supporters for the hike for Hospice. We do plan on having the hike and the Purple Tea party. We're just postponing the date, and we will be releasing information once we have a good idea when that is out. But the need for people to give to Hospice Huntsville is so critical right now. And not everybody would be aware that we do have to raise 60% of our fundraising or operations budget through fundraising and donations, which is about $658,000 a year that we need to raise. And that's, right now it's going towards all of our donations that we're receiving towards nursing supplies, also the groceries that we need to buy here at Hospice Huntsville. And, I think it's a different time, and we still are buying personal care products for our residents. So it's all of that funding that we really need at this time, because we're missing out on our fundraising events.
All right. Well, Melissa, we wish you all the best, and good luck with the campaign. And thank you very much. And if you can give back, we do suggest Hospice Huntsville. It is a very vital service in our community. We are taking another quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, the building may be shut down, but Gravenhurst Library is still a major hub of activity and knowledge for the public.
We want to reassure people that any materials that you do have out, we keep renewing everything, and people will not be accruing any kind of fines. And then when we get back up and operating again, people will be able to bring those materials back. We actually did shut down our book drop. So we're asking people to hold on to everything that they have. We've been keeping up with our story time programming. Our fabulous children's programmer, Karlovich, has been regularly posting story time programming each day, and that will continue on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays around 10 o'clock. Those will go up on our Facebook page. Our Thinkers and Tinkers programming, which we have been doing with its STEAM programming. Unfortunately, we can't do that in person right now, but we certainly are being able to offer that a couple times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays through our new Gravenhurst Public Library YouTube channel. Some of the other things we're doing are we're really promoting our online and virtual resources. So, for instance, we have there's thousands of book titles available through Overdrive, which is also called Libby. It's called Libby now. And those are downloadable ebooks and e-audiobooks, and the ability to download those, you just basically go to our website and check out our e-resources for those. We've actually added quite a couple hundred more titles over the last month in order to satisfy demand. We also are promoting our RB Digital streaming resource. The RB Digital actually encapsulates Acorn TV. People are familiar with Acorn. It's a free resource available to anybody who has a library card. Which reminds me, I wanted to mention that we actually have renewed library cards for all of those whose cards would have expired back in September of last year up to July of this year.
And we are going to take our last break. When we come back, we'll take a look at today's headlines. And now a quick recap of today's headlines. Muskoka has gone a few days in a row without confirming any new viral infections in the community. There are currently only 2 people actively infected out of the 16 confirmed cases reported in Muskoka by the health unit. Finally, while the province is suggesting we may have peaked, officials at all levels of government are strongly suggesting that doesn't mean we're anywhere near going back to our normal lives. Doug Ford has even strayed from giving a full timeline on when we could start relaxing some of the emergency measures being put out. And of course, for all your COVID-19 coverage, you can tune into Cogeco News live at 5 or find more details on our website or Facebook page. That's Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. And remember to watch us live at 5 Monday to Thursday. From everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching. Have a good night.